Crouse.
And the question is, what drew you to taking a role in the Expendables?
Well, first of all, Mr. Sly Stallone, who I worked with 25 years ago, and anything that he writes and directs is something I'd be interested in doing, and certainly this film was a great script, and I wanted to do it.
Have you learned anything from directing, the directing techniques of Sylvester Stallone that you would put towards your next directorial effort?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're on the set with somebody like him, who loves action movies, and he's accomplished, and he's kind of been a bit of a role model for me since I was a kid in Rocky IV. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always pick things up, and you're not quite sure what it is necessarily, but when you're directing your own movie, it's going to bleed in how you look at things and decisions you make, for sure. Well, all my roles are pretty tough physically. This film was different because I knew I was up against guys like Terry Crews and Stone Cold Austin, and they're like not small guys, and they're pretty well developed. So I thought that, I got to do more weights. I was actually kind of about 10 pounds heavier than now. Did a lot of weights for my upper body, trying to get a little beefier. My arms were still smaller than Terry Crews, but anyway, I think it was up there somewhere. Physically, I do a lot of martial arts fighting all the time, so that was pretty much what I did for this film. For the fighting, I can handle that pretty much any time. Anyway.
What's your regular workout routine? You say you do martial arts quite often. Do you work out 5 times a week? Do you work out 2 hours a day, or how does it work?
It depends quite a bit on what I'm doing, but I'd say on an average about 4 or 5 days a week. And I do martial arts about twice a week, depending. It could be twice a week, martial arts 3 times a week weights, or flip that around depending on if I do a lot of martial arts. Say if I'm back in Europe, I do more martial arts. I could do like weights maybe twice a week and martial arts 3 times a week, something like that.
And what style of martial art do you do?
It's called Kyokushin Karate. It's Japanese karate, and I have a 3rd-degree black belt, and I'm planning to get my 4th next year. And I'm planning to do a demo at the World Championships in Tokyo next year.
Wow, how long have you been doing that?
Since I was, a long time. Since I was about 14.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, how did you get involved in that initially?
Well, I did judo when I was a kid. I did ice hockey.
Yeah.
Hey, I love ice hockey. I'm Swedish, so I used to play that. And I did pretty well. But then, I don't know why I got involved in judo, and then from judo I went to karate, and I really enjoyed it. I think it has something to do with my upbringing and my dad, and I had a lot of problems, he was a bit tough on me, and I think the sort of, that's why it attracts you to these sort of physical sports, and with a lot of contact. So I really enjoyed karate, and I kind of got a lot of I think a release and a lot of self-confidence from it.
Did you find also, I talked to people who are involved in martial arts, and often it's the discipline that comes along with the martial art that is one of the drawing points for them.
I agree, yeah. I think martial arts, being a martial art, that's what it's called, is designed to train warriors, to fight to the death, basically. So it takes some discipline to do that, and some you have to have etiquette, and you have to have a certain outlook on life that's kind of fairly simple and elegant, I'd say, and it's not self-centered. Right. It's not an egocentric type of sport. So you don't go yelling and screaming and walking around, thinking you're the greatest. Right. That doesn't work in martial arts, which I like about it.
Would you say that the study of martial arts since such a young age, since you were 14, has changed your life?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
it did change me. I was very insecure, and I was kind of sick as a kid. I was allergic, and I think that it really changed me physically, and also it gave me a sense of who I am, and it's certainly today it's a great way for me to get an antidote from against Hollywood and all the trappings of that kind of lifestyle.
Right. It sort of helps you find your center somehow.
You're right. Yes, very much so.
What's the most dangerous stunt you've ever done?
Oh, well, I've done a few. But, I think what comes to mind is in a film called Red Scorpion back in the 80s, I decided, which is very stupid anyway, there was a transfer. I had to jump from a motorcycle sidecar. I think I was driving it, and then I jumped up, got on the sidecar and jumped over to a truck, which is moving in Africa.
Right.
So, in Africa, you're not exactly, they don't safety conscious.
Right.
And I did that jump, and it was I made it, but it was pretty scary.
So no wires,
No wires, none of that stuff. No, I've done a few of those back in the 80s, a few high falls too, which were cut out of the picture because that sequence was cut out. But like a 80-foot into a bag, like that's no actor will do that.
Yeah.
And I hurt my back actually, but look. You only live once. What the hell?
Is there a difference now in the filmmaking process to the kinds of stunts that actors are asked to do versus back then? I mean, it sounds a bit more, the way you describe the motorcycle stunt, sort of like the Wild West. It's like, it's easy. You just jump from here to here. We know you can do it. It's a little different now, though, right?
Yeah, it is, for sure. I mean, Expendables was a bit like the old school stuff where guys were chose to do things, and because Stallone himself does a lot of fights and he does a lot of his own stunts, so the other actors feel they have to live up to that. But I think in a lot of movies now, despite of what they say in the press, most of the actors won't do a lot of things because it's just too dangerous, or they can't do it because if something goes wrong, you'll get hurt or killed. So and producers can't allow that.
How was it re-teaming with Stallone in this film?
Well, that's the reason I did it, because Sly asked me to do it, and I never thought I'd work with him again, really. I mean, I didn't have any idea he was going to ask me, and I was really flattered and very excited, and, the whole experience has been terrific, really.
Will you do any more action movies after The Expendables?
Well, I certainly hope so. We'll see. But I hope so, yeah, for sure.
What is it about the action movie genre that appeals to you so much?
Well, it's a way of making a living for me because people want to see me do it.
Right.
I like physicality. I mean, I think, especially if you can direct an action movie, you get a chance to have fun and be a kid and play with guns and cars and a few beautiful women in there too, if you're lucky. And at the same time, when you're directing, you kind of get a bit of an intellectual challenge too, because you're making other decisions about music and editing and stuff. So it's kind of it's a great job, really. It's hard work, but it's a fantastic job, very challenging and very rewarding, really.
If you could be any one of the characters you played in your career in real life, which one would it be?
Well, it wouldn't be Gunnar Jensen. Guy's too psych. I wouldn't live an hour out here in the streets. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't know. Ivan Drago is in Siberia for losing the fight. Okay, I'd have to be Joe, the rock and roll drummer from Command Performance, because rock and roll is really cool.
Yeah. And you get to play drums. You get to meet women. I guess that's how it works, right?
Got the groupies, right? At least in the movies.
If there was a character you could play, who would it be? Any character at all?
Well, I suppose I'd love to do something in Sweden. A Swedish-based sort of film. I've never done that, so maybe a Swedish historical character. I don't know exactly who, but some maybe a military officer or something like that.
Well, with the success of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in those films, there'll be a lot more movies being made in Sweden, and maybe you can go back home and work.
We hope so.
Thanks.
Richard Crouse.